Once again, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have the honor of introducing our silver sponsor. She's an amazing, phenomenal young lady who gets out in the community and gets it done. We're so very grateful that Cox saw fit to join in to help us make this Diversity Summit 2023 a major success. Y'all, please do me a big, big favor. Welcome our good friend from Cox Communications, the marketing vice president, Miss Janet Uthman is with us this afternoon. Yeah.
You. Good afternoon, everyone. I am honored to be here today. Thank you for allowing me a few moments to speak. So I stand between you and the president's panel, so I will be brief. I am Janet Uthman, the market vice president for Cox Las Vegas. And I'm here because you just heard about educational equity. I want to talk about digital equity. And this is really my purpose and my passion. There is no reason why folks should not be connected to broadband. And I had the pleasure of doing an event in our community with FCC Chairman Jeffrey Starks about 6 months ago, one of the public housing units, and he's trying to increase awareness of this federal government program. It's the Affordable Connectivity Program. And Cox, we are honored to partner with the White House in order to increase awareness. And there are other broadband providers out there. You don't have to choose our service. I just want to make sure folks know and that your students know that they have an access to get connected. As he has said, Commissioner Stark said it is the great equalizer, and too many Black and brown people fall on the wrong side of the digital divide. So I want you to all to contact me personally, Janet Uthman with Cox Communication, get connected because I am looking for partners on how to spread the word, to especially to our underserved community. There are some folks out there that are choosing between, do I buy groceries this month or do I keep my broadband connection? And I know I use broadband to connect my mother to telehealth when she's not able to get out to the doctor. So folks are using it for every important aspect of their life. It's no longer a nice to have. It is a must have for several of our folks. So again, we're partnering with the federal government, and I am proud to say in Nevada, 46% of folks who are eligible for this benefit, this $30 credit, are taking advantage, and that is one of the highest in the nation. But I will say there are still in Southern Nevada alone over 150,000 residents that are eligible and do not have access. So again, it's called the Affordable Connectivity Program. It's a $30 benefit. So if you are on, now let me get this right. So if you're on SNAP, Medicaid, SSI, Pell Grant, WIC, or have a child that receives free or reduced lunch, you're eligible for these programs. There's a $9.95 program for kids who are K through 12, and then there's a $30 Connect Assist digital equity product through Cox for anyone that's on any of those programs. So when combined with that affordable connectivity discount of $30, residents can get broadband for free, for free. So, and if I should mention, it is $75 benefit if you live on a tribal land. So just wanted to get that out there. So that's one program, but I also wanted to talk briefly about another one. We partnered with the Clark County Library District, and up to 50,000 Southern Nevada residents can get access to Cox free Wi-Fi network across the valley. So all you do, if you have a library card, they're free. You go and apply for a library card. You ask for a Cox Wi-Fi username or password to get access to any one of our thousands of hotspots or Wi-Fi spots across the valley. And I talked with Chairman Nathaniel of the Library District, who had said he talked to a patron who was homeless and got the username and the password and was able to use that access for a job interview and got the job. So we're literally trying to change people's lives and their lot in life. So I hope you all will spread the word, especially to folks who are eligible or if you're involved in any community associations, because it is crucial that people are connected today. So as I mentioned, I'm standing between you and the president's panel. So it is now my honor to introduce our distinguished panelists for the President's Panel. And this year, the College of Southern Nevada and the Planning Committee decided to add student body representatives to sit with their president on the panel for an opportunity to hear from students as well as the presidents. So I think I'm welcoming you up as I introduce you. So from the College of Southern Nevada, President Dr. Federico Zaragoza, and student body, yes, give him a round of applause. And student body president, Pio Rejas. Okay. All right, from Desert Research Institute, President Kamud Uchara. Round of applause. Ucharia. And graduate student representative, Charlotte Vandernagel. From Nevada State University, President Darian Pollard, come on up. All right, now it says student body representative to be announced. So if you are here, apologies. I will have you introduce yourself when you get on up here. And from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, President Dr. Keith Whitfield. And student body president, Michaela Franklin. This panel will be moderated by Dr. Weekly, College of Southern Nevada Chief Diversity Officer and Chief of Staff.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Good afternoon again. How's everybody doing? Y'all ready to get in the mix with these presidents and student body representatives here? Yay? All right, let's do it. Well, once again, let's give a big, big, big round of applause to all of our presidents and our student representatives. We really want to thank all the sponsors. We want to thank all of the staff and all of the volunteers that came out earlier today. Man, we had a great time. Y'all enjoy the workshop so far? Those of y'all that are still staying with us this afternoon? Thank you. Thank you so very much. Well, as you all well know, DEI is under attack. I'm going to say it. They didn't say it. I said it. All across the country, people are having town hall meetings. They're having lots of discussions. People are questioning, is DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, as well as belonging, is it still necessary? Is it still relevant? Well, we have some presidents and some representatives here that we're going to get right into it and see what their thoughts are. That's what I'm going to throw out there first to you all. My first question would be, Dr. Whitfield, I'll start with you. You look real excited down there. Huh? We'll put a stuffed animal down there. We'll put somebody down there to keep you company, Mr. President. Your question, Mr. President, would be, how would you describe your institutional culture surrounding the use and understanding of preferred and or gender neutral pronouns?
Give me the end of that question again.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you that one more time because I'm getting into this thing. Hi there, Mr. President. I'm Lawrence Weekly. My pronouns are him, he, his, right? I'm just going to put it out there like that. Question to you would be, how would you describe your institutional culture surrounding the use and understanding of preferred and or gender neutral pronouns?
So first, thank you for that question.
Yes, sir.
You're famous for giving good questions. So just take half step back and say that UNLV is actually, when it comes to race and ethnicity, the second most diverse campus in the country. And that is part of who we are, and we embrace that diversity in many ways. And the use of pronouns is encouraged in all of the communications that we have as we communicate with other people around campus. We support the LGBTQ community, transgender community. All of those are done through both programming, through our intersection, through our social justice office, through lots of our offices. And so there's no one single simple answer for that. It actually permeates everything that we do because it's part of our identity in celebrating and in enhancing diversity in all that we do.
Dr. Pollard, I'll ask you that same question. And then I'm going to ask the other two presidents a different question. So, Dr. Pollard, that question for you would be again, with the current national climate, no, that's not your question. Okay. Your question is, Jesus, I done lost it already. At any rate, how would you describe your institutional culture surrounding the use and understanding of preferred and or gender neutral pronouns?
Let me first also join, excuse me, my colleague, Dr. Whitfield, in thanking you and certainly CSN and the wonderful committee that brought this wonderful day together. I always love coming on the campus of CSN because there's a different energy that permeates each of our campuses. So thank you all for hosting today's forum. I would offer, probably at the most basic level, we are thoughtful and engaged in this work. The intentionality is there. I think part of what we as an organization have to continue to do is one, think about how you operationalize this work to make sure the students, faculty, and staff, I would also say, have the opportunity to self-designate how they want to be called, what they want to be called. I think that's important. Secondly, that we are designing institutional language so that our vernacular reflects that and that we don't make assumptions one way or the other. And then third, I think there is a need for leadership to model that and to be self-corrective when necessary, but also to receive the correction that others may give us when we are inaccurate, inappropriate, sometimes not thoughtful about how we present pronouns and gender identity in terms of our conversations. And I think as a president, it's particularly incumbent upon us to model that. So I'm always very thoughtful about at least a few things, I think, on my campus. One is that when you're in spaces like this, you need to use a microphone because we make assumptions about people's hearing ability. So I'm grateful that we all are using microphones, not assuming that we're putting our teacher's voice on. That I think is important. And then secondly, that we respect how an individual chooses to name themselves, whether that be their given name as well as the pronoun choices. And for me to ask that question where appropriate if someone does not, and for me to be modeling my own professional development in that space and then conveying that within the college community.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. President Achara, you ready? He says, yes, I am. All right. This will be for you and Dr. Saragosa. With the current national climate surrounding DACA and undocumented students, what is your institution's plan regarding serving students in those populations?
Thank you, Lawrence, and thank you, CSN, for inviting and organizing a wonderful program. And I'm glad to be here with a student researcher at DRI. She comes from UNLV. She's so we can share her, actually, President Whitfield. She's from UNLV. She's going to get a degree from there, but she's doing her research at DRI. So I think she can cover both bases. First of all, we absolutely support DACA students. Let me start from there. DRI is a research institute. We don't grant degrees at DRI. We do have a lot of students like Charlotte here, who come in, and she's actually an international student from Netherlands. And so we're a big supporter of DACA. I think that let me tell you my story. I'm an immigrant myself. I came to this country to get educated. And there are a lot of DACA students who go to colleges here.
No, that means
Right.
talk to.
So I came to this country as a student,
Yes.
right? So I support all those students, and they absolutely deserve all the opportunities that students should deserve typically, right? So, I mean, we don't have a large number of students at DRI, but we have all kinds of students who come from different like community colleges for internship or universities. So it's a pity that this government hasn't done enough for DACA students.
Dr. Saragosa, same question. With the current national climate surrounding DACA and undocumented students, what is your institution's plan regarding serving students in those populations?
Dr. Weekly, you don't have to get the easy questions, right? I signed your check, you know that, right?
Go.
Just want to make sure we were clear on that. And I want to thank the presidents for being here at the College of Southern Nevada to talk about these very critical issues. I think earlier this morning I said that for the presidents, and I wasn't talking about just myself, for the presidents, DEI is a personal matter. And I think you're hearing it in our responses because we've walked that that path. It's part of our journey. It's part of our story. It's part of who we are. When we talk about DACA students and undocumented students, this is very personal to me. In fact, you all know that I'm an immigrant, but I was also undocumented. I didn't become a citizen until the age of 20. So I walked that space for a couple of years. And it's a very difficult space. I have opportunities at times to meet with undocumented students, and we have a lot in common in terms of how we view higher education. And the needs for this group is a little bit different. For example, legal information for DACA students and for undocumented is a very important element of their retention journey. The ability to trust individuals within higher education is another important element of the journey that they're in. And I tell you that it's also very frustrating to be in an environment where some of the resources that were available, in fact, we were partnering with UNLV to provide immigration services to our DACA and to our immigrant students, and that got cut back. And so now we're in a scenario where we're having to go out to the community to build partnerships to be able to provide that legal service, which oftentimes isn't kind of associated as a wraparound service. But for this population, it's very, very important. Another element, we talk about creating a sticky campus, right, where we all belong. I tell you, when you're a undocumented student, when you're a DACA student, sometimes it's hard to find where you fit in. And a lot of times, the scenario is you hear voices from the institution kind of speaking to you through the media, in other words, and otherwise, and it makes it very difficult to have the wraparound support systems for students that they need in order to be able to benefit from the education they're getting. So wraparound in the context of immigrant and DACA students is critical. So again, we're learning from our NSHE institutions, and we actually hired an undocumented coordinator, undocumented student coordinator, to be able to provide the information and to have the subject matter expertise and to build that trust so that our students, all our students, can benefit from the experience at the College of Nevada. So again, this is something that's very personal to me. I think at NSHE, we get it. I think we're trying to do the best we can. But like in other challenges that we have, when you talk about DEI is under attack, one of the primary areas and one of the first groups that gets hit in these type of discussions are kind of immigrant groups, and they're the undocumented. So I say that one last comment. If you're an undocumented student, and Pio today, we were having an earlier conversation because a couple of undocumented students actually reached out to me today, and they were senators. These were students that got elected to the CSN Student Body Senate. They're unable to serve, they're unable to vote, and they're unable to get stipends. So when we talk about having them feel like they're part of the community, that's what they see in terms of what the institution is able to do. And they come with me with solutions. They feel was something they're doing it at UNLV. So Keith, you and I are going to have a conversation because we want to do it at CSN too.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chirigosa. Speaking of students, yeah, give them a round of applause. Thank you to the presidents. Thank you. And what I love about this panel of presidents is you all are so unified and you all work so well together. And I know in all my years of following NCHI, this is probably one of the first times I've ever seen presidents of the Southern Nevada regime just really work together and support each other. So thank you all for that. It makes such a big difference because a lot of the staff people get to work together and do a lot of great things as a representation of each of you. Let's talk to the students. And Pio, we're going to start with the ladies. The UNLV representative, I think we know how they feel. We'll see. Then I'm sorry, Dr. Whitfield. We're just students. Let me ask this question. Here we go. What challenges do students at your institution face related to matters of diversity, equity, and inclusion? What challenges are your peers on your campus facing as it relates to DEI? And we'll start with Nevada State University.
Hello, everyone. My name is Leslie Arias. I'm a secondary education major from Nevada State, and I'm a student body representative. I would say that thank you. I would say that one really big challenge relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion that our students face on our campus is having to adjust to an institution that doesn't treat diversity as a barrier. I would say that very frequently we get students who are products of systems and institutions that treat diversity as a barrier, and we learn specific things about who we are that make it hard for us to continue with our education. And so when we make that switch from high school to college, not only are we having to deal with all, the normal changes that come with making that switch, but we're also having to deal with having to unlearn all the things that have been taught to us in previous systems and institutions. And I think at Nevada State, we're such an open campus and such a safe space for students, and it can be hard sometimes because they're not the things that we've learned so far, and all of a sudden you've got all these people like letting you be open about who you are, about the languages that you speak, about the cultures that you represent, but you weren't allowed to do that before. And so a really big challenge is, how do we go about that? How do we unlearn all of those things? And how do we move forward with our education now, having learned that it's okay to be who we are and it's okay to represent diversity, equity, and inclusion in the things that we do?
Okay. Thank you, Leslie. Very well said. Thank you. Okay, DRI.
Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Charlotte. I'm a third-year PhD student at UNLV, but I do my research at DRI. So as we already mentioned, DRI is a little different than the other institutions that we have out here because we don't grant degrees. I spoke with the HR person yesterday. There's currently 24 students at DRI North and South Campus. Since I've been at DRI since 2021, I think I've only interacted with 5 students. So for us, the biggest issue would be inclusion, because diversity. There's just not enough students to really obtain that. But then at the same time, we are enrolled at universities. So I'm attending UNLV. So at least that's, you kind of have you're halfway split between these institutions. But so, yeah, I'd say for us, inclusion is the biggest issue.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Mr. Pio.
It is. Okay. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. The question would be, what challenges do students at your institution face related to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I believe one of the main issues is when our faculty or staff, they take the CAPE class and they may become aware of DIE inclusion. But I guess what students want, what this challenging issue is wanting to be addressed is they actually take action, and they want them to be relate as them. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. at least take the time to understand what they represent in the Constitution, what they represent in the institution. They want to be seen as they want to be related to them. They want to be presented in a shared space within other institutions as well.
Sure. So let me ask Leslie and Pio, what roles do you take personally as it relates to this issue here? What role do you take as a student leader when it comes to addressing those challenges? And for you, Charlotte, I know that you've only interacted with a small amount of your peers, your classmates. What advice do you give to any of your classmates that may run into some challenges? So I want you to think about that as it relates to your question. So we'll go back to you, Leslie.
I would say one really big thing for me is leveraging my opportunities so they never benefit just me. As a student leader on campus, we are given so many amazing opportunities to be the student voice and to represent our campus, pretty much like the opportunity that I'm being given right now. And if at the end of one of those opportunities, I'm walking away and I did not take anything that could help me alleviate the challenges that those students face on campus, something that could help me when it comes to empowering student voices on campus, if I did not get anything like that out of the opportunities that I am being given, and I'm just being given opportunities for the sake of them being given to me, then I don't think that I'm being a successful student leader. So.
Okay, Pio?
Yes. I think our role is to listen to the voice and the hurt of the students and giving them the aid and the experience they deserve, especially if they are paying from the out of pocket of their money to be taken seriously and be taken as students as they deserve.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Charlotte?
Yeah, so for us, what I would recommend other students, especially at DRI, is to just say yes to any event or any possibility to interact with students. Because I mentioned those 24 students, pretty much all of those are in Reno. So we have this very small student population. So if there is an opportunity to, I don't know, go to a lunch seminar, which we, for example, have often, I'm often the only student there. So to try and just, at least the few students that we have, they should stick together and at least try to collaborate a little more.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to ask the presidents one more question each, and then, of course, we'll have Raquel Melson, who will ask the president some questions that we received from the audience. I wish this audience now looked like it did earlier today, but that's okay. We're grateful that those of you all who took the time out of your schedules to stay around and ask questions and listen to what our presidents had to say this afternoon. We greatly and humbly appreciate each and every one of you. This first question is going to go to Dr. Pollard and Dr. Saragosa. And then the second question will go for Dr. Whitfield and Dr. Carr, okay? All right, here we go. So Dr. Pollard and Dr. Saragosa, what challenges does your institution face regarding recruiting diverse faculty? And what is your plan of action to address those challenges?
I think that the recruitment of diverse faculty and staff is an issue that is broad across all of higher education. So I think part of what we have to do as presidents and those of us who lead in this space is to place things in context. Certainly in certain parts of the country, there's a easier or more direct pathway to that. But there are a series of things that I think can enhance that for those of us who may not be in those spaces where there is a plethora or at least better pathways to those institutions. I think for me, some of the challenges are multiple. One, and this is the thing that I hear from our existing faculty who are conducting and participating on searches, as well as our HR officer when he is in the midst of making offers or doing the thing that he does to bring them on board. One is compensation. I think that a number of faculty of color, which is I think the question, and I would say faculty in general, if you choose to teach in an organization like Nevada State University, to work with exceptional students like Leslie, who I just need to just write everything she said down, which I had to pause and do. you choose this because you believe in mission, but I don't believe you should take a vow of poverty to do that. And I think that we have to have a substantive conversation around compensation benefits in such a way that encourages and recognizes that faculty are trying to also oftentimes enhance their own economic mobility as well. We have a number of faculty and staff at Nevada State who are first generation college students, first generation graduates. And that works well with the 50% of students we have who are identifying as first generation college students. So they too should be able to have their portion of the American dream. They've worked hard and been educated to do so. They need to be able to be compensated and have resources to do that. The second part is resources that I hear from faculty and staff who may be considering this organization. They're thinking about what has been the investments that the state and others have made in the organization. When you teach, you very seldom teach only what's in the classroom. You need adequate resources for your students, whether it be learning centers, writing centers, research opportunities, internships, all of those things. Very few of them are done for free. So we need to be able to also provide the robust support that's necessary for faculty and staff to do that. And if they're looking at multiple offers or trying to decide where they want to be and they realize, this entity is not only going to compensate me at the level that I might get someplace else, even if I believe in this mission and I participated in an interview and met Leslie, I'm also looking at how I can show up best for her. And if I can't do that, I'm not going to want to step into that environment. Third for me is the macro narrative that also may exist about NCHE and the Valley of Las Vegas. There is reputational risk that is out there, and we need to be aware of what that means to people when we are recruiting them to our area. We are recruiting highly educated people who have been critical thinkers. They think deeply about the work, and they are bringing themselves, oftentimes family, to an environment. They're looking for stability. They're looking for good environments around governance. They're looking for an opportunity to put their children in educational systems where they will have future teachers like Leslie to instruct them. They want to live in communities where there's low crime, greater access to public transportation. They want good health care. They want to be able to have a higher quality of life that should be afforded to them by being an educated person. So I think that those factors, both micro, the institutional level, and macro in terms of the community of which we are part, until we start to, one, elevate and amplify the things that we are doing well, and let that be the dominant narrative, and support those things that are also rising, then we will be able to do that. But we also have to confront the truth, even if it makes us uncomfortable, and to talk about that deliberately.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. Dr. Saragosa. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Give it up. Give it up. It's like being in church. If you hear something, you're like, amen is all right.
I know Keith and I always hate to follow Dr. Pollard, and you can see why. But you know what? I actually like following Dr. Pollard because I like to build and just kind of comment a little bit from another perspective, and that's kind of the community college perspective and kind of our reality. So earlier today, we heard Dr. Garcia talk about the national landscape. And I'm on the HAKU board, so we have these conversations, and I can tell you that CSN is not unique, but we're flipped. We're actually flipped. At the end of the day, higher education is flipped. You know, College of Southern Nevada, 70% of our students are minority students, right? So 70% of our faculty, right? If you want students to kind of be able to see themselves in the faculty, then 70% of our faculty should be minority. But we're flipped. It's actually the other way around. 30% of our faculty is minority. So that's kind of the reality and the environment that we're in. In the last 5 years, I continue to look at the data, and the percentages have not changed. So I wish I could stay here and make the point how I've moved the needle in terms of the faculty diversity element. That's not happened. And I'll tell you some of the reasons why it's not happening. So first and foremost, community colleges and certainly the College of Southern Nevada, our primary recruitment method is a passive method. You know, we advertise through the traditional mechanisms that kind of we put the word out there and we expect to get quality minority applicants into the pathway. Hasn't worked in years, it's not working now. And you heard some of the strategies that Dr. Pollard talked about, because that's what's needed. EAB kind of actually looked at this area and said we need action-oriented recruitment mechanisms. So that's one. Number two, community colleges are known for creating pathways, right? We do it for business and industry. We've aligned our curriculum in such a way where we can create pathways and mobility pathways, right? Where individuals can start at one level and progress to the highest level of the organizations. We haven't done that in the area of faculty. We haven't created pathways from places like HBCUs and HSIs where our minority talent lies. So there's great opportunities in that space. The third area, and I think this is a very important area that Dr. Pollard talked about, I can tell you that every time that there is a position vacancy at CSN, minority faculty members from throughout the country actually will look at that and they will call somebody they know in either Las Vegas or in Nevada or at CSN. And they're going to want an inside track. How is the environment for minority faculty in your institution? Do we have a culture that appreciates, that supports minority faculty? Well, I can tell you that for us, I mean, we one of the first things I did when I came to CSN is we did a diversity audit, the Saltgrass report. And it basically says that many of our minority faculty feel underappreciated in this institution. So we've got that work to do. And finally, you can't get away from this, we must be more competitive in terms of salaries. I think that that's kind of just a snapshot of both the challenges, but also the opportunities to do some good work in this space.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, some of you clapping because, yeah, he said those salaries, huh? Mm-hmm. We clap on that one right there, boy. Okay, so Dr. Achara and Dr. Whitfield, you ready for your question, sir, gentlemen? Well, ready or not, here it comes. All right. How do you describe, if you will, Mr. President, let's talk about the accommodation process. How do you describe your accommodation process? What does that look like at your institution? Are there tools and resources available to help every student succeed regardless of their ability? I'll read that one more time. What does the accommodation process look like at your institution? Are there tools and resources available to help every student succeed regardless of their disability?
So thank you. Before I get to that, I do want to chime in on the previous question, if it's okay, from my perspective, because it's very important, right? You talked about why are we having so difficulty in recruiting diverse faculty at our campuses. Let me give you a perspective from Research Institute. We are primarily an environmental research institute, and most of the folks we have at DRI, they come from STEM background, right? So when we advertise for faculty, the application pool from diverse background is very thin. So we don't have that many applicants, and no matter what we do, we advertise at HSI institutions, MSIs, we don't get it. So the problem is much bigger than that. So how do we create that pool of applicants who can then apply to positions that we have vacant, right? So it's a huge challenge. So when we had that difficulty several years ago, what I decided to do was, okay, we have to get to the bottom of the problem. So how do we attract students from diverse backgrounds into STEM field? So we created an internship program at DRI, particularly targeting non-STEM students from community colleges, give them stipend, let them come to DRI, spend some time with our faculty, spend some time in our labs, and then see if we can change minds and convince these kids, hey, there is a future in science for you guys. Maybe you'd like to think about it. right? So the work is, there's a lot of work ahead of us to create that pathway that you talk about, to especially bring that. Now let me get to the tools, right? So a couple of years ago, we stood up an idea committee at DRI that involves faculty, and we have also students. And the idea committee meets regularly. I meet with the idea committee regularly, and the idea committee organizes programs so that we try to find out what are the problems for newcomers or students, what are the difficulties, what tools are available for them to get through the system at DRI, right? So we're always looking at organizing programs, organizing regular EAPs, and then helping our folks to deal with the challenges that they face so that they can, either they're students, they can complete the degrees, or there's postdocs or faculty, they can get through the beginning years of their careers at DRI.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Whitfield?
Well, thank you. I want to do the same thing as my colleague, Dr. Acharya, and address the previous question just a little bit, because as a research institution, there are special qualifications that go into people for part of our faculty that are there, and that there be research intensive. One of the things that we've done is to join a national group of 21 Hispanic serving institutions that are Research One institutions, because part of the challenge, and I think it was encompassed in what was said, is that there's a pipeline problem. We don't have students that are coming through that, and I want to get to that in the second part of the question, who are being encouraged that if they're talented, that there's lots of things that they could do, and the professoriate is actually one of the things that they can do. And so we've joined this national consortium of folks. We've been trying to push to be able to try to have multiple campus training grants and training opportunities so that students can see what it looks like, so that they can think about, hey, I could have a life as a research person or even as a professor, being able to share those things. And so it becomes much more real. We'll see where that goes. UNLV is not going to actually wait for them. They're great colleagues, but it's been taking a little bit longer. So we've got a couple of things in the pipeline now, applying for federal programs that actually provide that sort of experience, that sort of support. One of the other things that we try to do is to actually get students as their undergraduates and encourage them to go to graduate school. So then they'll get the graduate certificate and then hopefully have an experience that leads them to think about the professoriate. But that pipeline piece is a difficult piece, because there's lots of things now that for a graduate degree that you can do that are outside of academia. And hate to say it, but they pay a little bit better too, and particularly in the STEM fields. And so there is this little bit of kind of competition friction that goes on in terms of finding diverse students who can excel, and how we can pull them into and give them the idea that a rewarding career life as a professor might be the way to go. We're having some success, but we want to have much more. We want to grow our graduate program. I'd like to double it from what it is now, just so that even if you double it, you still know you're only going to get a portion of those students anyway. And so we've got to figure out ways to be able to do that. So to your second question, we've done a few things. One of them that was the most recent one is that we had what we call Rebel Week, where students come, and rather than doing an orientation that's only a couple of days, we have a whole week so that they get on campus without worrying about running to, first finding a parking place and then running to your class. It's the idea of really understanding what is available at the university. One of the things that we struggle with is that while we have 31,000 students, we just broke 31,000 this year. The difficult part is that we only have about 1,800 beds on campus. And so it's not like we've got this little kind of cloistered group of students that actually experience the university. They come and go and they kind of flow in and out. So we start Rebel Week with making sure that there's a real intensive, purposeful way of connecting them with other people, with resources, and the knowledge of what they need to be successful in college. It was amazing seeing, actually, people have been there for 30 years, had never seen so many students on campus. For us, we had one of the largest incoming classes in the history of the university, over 4,600 students. And so what we're hoping is that experience sets them up. It's so interesting, not necessarily even to know, but to not be afraid to ask. Yes. Because we have the resources, I think, that help so many students in so many different ways. But if you don't know how to do this, and raise your hand and actually ask for the help. It doesn't matter how many resources we have, we can't make that connection. But we've tried it that way. One of the other interesting ways that Dr. Zaragoza and I are trying to do is to use artificial intelligence to be there 24/7, so that if you have a question, we can tie you to the different things that you may not be able to necessarily look at a website and be able to figure out where the help is. And so more than anything else, it's being able to make sure that we tie people to the resources that we have. I'll conclude with this one point. It's something that we, as 4 institutional presidents, you said it, it is very unique that we actually talk and we support one another, and we know we share a same mission. But one of the things that we've been trying to figure out is that how do we really extend ourselves such that we help the K through 12 sector be able to understand that we are a natural possibility for lots of their students. And I think for me, and I haven't had this exact conversation, we have to change the narrative that is being talked about students that come from Clark County. I'm waiting to get the data, but I believe that out of every single one of, I want to say it's 30 high schools that are here in the county, we have somebody who graduates. So they can't all be bad. We have to change that narrative of that you can't to that what is it that you can do and what is it that you want to do, and take their inspiration and their aspiration and actually across these incredibly different but incredibly supportive institutions be able to show you can come here and be a success if that's what you choose to do.
Yeah.
Rather than being disappointed and discouraged
Yeah.
from pursuing it. We want to be places of opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, great answer. Great. You know, earlier today we had regents and the chancellor here, and I really wish many of the comments that you all are making right now, wish they were here now to hear what y'all are saying, because it makes it, who do we have here? Oh, who's that? Is the chancellor here too? Chancellor, stand up. Let us see. Yeah, chancellor and regent, stand up. Okay, they're here with us. Okay, I love what they said. They're very good. Welcome back. Thank y'all. Did y'all get to eat today? What, Regent Del Carlo, we know you got to eat. I had lunch with you. So, all right. Patty Charlton, thank you for coming back and supporting us today. Thank you. Well, good. Great answers so far. Students, here's a question for you. Y'all ready? This question is going to be for Leslie and Pio. And then, Charlotte, I have to design questions for you. All right. You're a unique student up there. All right. So, Pio and Leslie, your question is, what type of events / programming is offered on your campus for engaging and supporting diverse students on your campus? That's your question. Charlotte, your question is going to be, as DRI continues to grow and we see our numbers, whether it be in the north or the south, growing, we get more students, what would you recommend moving forward you'd like to see happen on the campus there to support a more diverse universe there on your campus? All right. Charlotte, I'm going to start with you.
All right. Well, thank you for that question. I think, so in terms of our students population right now, it actually is pretty diverse. DRI is able to attract international students from, I think, every continent. So I really like the diversity in that, but yeah, we need the numbers. So as we keep on growing that student population, I think a good thing will be for DRI to try and connect their north and south a little more, and to really create that student feeling. Because really, like, you can get a Spirit flight to Reno for what, like $50. So we can definitely try and engage that more. But also at the same time, there's so many students. What do you say, 31,000 students at UNLV? It's right around the corner. So trying to not only grow that population at DRI, but have it be a little more connected to UNLV as well, or the other campuses.
Absolutely. And then it doesn't hurt that you have one of the coolest, nicest, smartest presidents on the planet, right?
Yeah, right.
That helps. That helps a great deal. I see him out at events, and he just kind of glides through the room. You don't even know he's there half the time. I saw him in Washington, D.C., and I was like, Mr. President, is that you? And just so cool, man. Thank you for being such an awesome leader. Thank you for being such a great inspiration. Thank you for being one of the nicest guys ever. Thank you. so much. All right, Leslie and P.O., it's your turn. What type of events or programming is offered on your campus for engaging and supporting diverse students on your campus? Leslie, ladies first.
So our Office of Community Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, CEDI, they're a really big contributor when it comes to this. They just recently celebrated the opening of their Multicultural Collective, which is an intersectional space for students and staff to promote social justice, coalition building, and liberation on campus. The events that they host prioritize events that follow those same morals and the values that they uphold, which is really nice. We also have a lot of student-led clubs and organizations, which are some of the best opportunities on campus for diverse students to get programming that helps them out. I really like them because they are led by our diverse student population, and it is them asking our diverse student populations, what is it that you need and what is it that you want to feel supported on campus? And so they find that out, and that's what they have for the students, whether that be in the form of socials, of study dates, of potlucks, like so many different things, and they're all led by our students, so it's what our students need. There's also our summer bridge programs, which are really nice, which are for incoming high school seniors who are becoming freshmen to help them with that change between the two. And just some two examples, we've got our Sankofa program, which is designed to support retention and recruitment of Black students at NSU, and they have a summer bridge program. We also got our Nepantla program, which is specifically to support first generation college students, and they've got a summer bridge program. But yeah.
Yeah, Leslie. Oh boy. Leslie. Leslie's speaking like a future NSHE president up there, man. There you go. Leslie, you're up there making your president real proud. She's like, This is how we do it at NSU. Okay, P.O.
First, I want to say that that was great, and I want to thank to all the panelists here. I think you guys do a really good job. Please, can we have a round of applause for them? And I want to go a little further here. I want to take in consideration, we have campus life events that help with the retention for our students. We have CAPE, we have GSA, which is a gender sexuality alliance. We have the BIPOC affinity groups. We have the student clubs, well, Latino Student Alliance, the Black Student Union. I want to also mention Generation Dreamers. Yes, voice for them. We have students and organizations that brings a diversity to the campus. We also have the DEI department that help us with programming with what is student-related events and programs and opportunities as well. We have the student government department, the student leadership academy as well. We have the mentorship program. We have the Millennium Scholarship, the Alternative Scholarship. We have the Blackstone program. I think we have a very good quality, a lot of information for our students at the campus and online as well. Of course, our faculty and staff brings their whole heart to our students to help them develop themselves and to be a successful people, as our mission of statement at CSN says, achieve success and prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, P.O. Earlier today, we asked conference attendees to take the little cards that were in your packets and write a question down that you all may have for the students or the presidents. And several of you all did that, and you dropped them in a bucket out at the registration table. Right, Raquel Melson, future Dr. Raquel Melson, our director of DEI, is here, and she's going to share some of those questions with y'all.
It's for the presidents. SB 109 recently went into effect, requiring institutions to ask for data on gender and sexual orientation in order to improve in new and improved ways. How will institutions use new gender and sexual orientation data to improve outcomes?
Y'all want to flip a coin?
You see, we get along so well, we always try to pass the baton. So, let me just give you a couple of thoughts. First and foremost, I just think of data security, that when you give personal information like that, there has to be a level of security and a specific purpose for why it's used, and that it will only be used for what you agree to using it for. But I can tell you, once you have that data, one of the things that helps is that as we think about programming and we think about actually distribution of resources to be able to address issues that students have or desires that students have, that data of knowing how big the actual group is always useful. And so it's always just a starting point. It ultimately, I think that you get some of the identity information, but afterwards, it is the other kinds of questions that you have to ask folks once you have found their identity to say, what is it that you need? What is it that you want? What are you struggling with? What are your strengths? What can we use to be able to help other students who might be like you that will come through? One of the other things is kind of making sure that you tie the data to resources that are advertised, that you don't just put them up and say, yeah, we have a resource. You actually have that identity data and then be able to target who we send information to about events that are going on, about resources that are there, so that you really do kind of have a targeted approach. I think it's a very thin line that you have to be careful of that it never gets used and abused. Yeah. I think we have a similar issue when we think about actually our undocumented students, of that we want to provide resources for them, but we don't want them to be in a position where then if we get called by the federal government to release information that we have to do it. So it's the right protections have to be put in place as you do things like that. But it's the utility of it is for us to be able to actually address the needs of populations that actually need resources and may not look like they fit into any of those other categories. So it's much more of a resource distribution benefit that could happen.
Anybody else want to?
Yeah, I think as a rule, whenever we're looking at kind of data, we're data-informed institutions, so we can't be irresponsible in terms of how we use that data, but we have to use it to assess the outcomes of their student experience at our campuses. And in the diversity context, it's going to be important that we know what's happening to all our students. So having that additional information, I think, can only make us better within that framework of responsible data-informed decision-making. But we've seen it with Achieving the Dreams. We know that when we look into the student experience and we disaggregate the data to the various segments that represent our diversity populations, the better we are. The more we know about what's working and not working, and the better that we can see whether in fact we have achievement gaps. I think that's the value of having this information. But also when I reiterate that we have to be very careful about the security of the data and what it's used for.
Very good. Thank you. All right. We have student question. Yeah. So Leslie's like, okay, I'm ready.
How do you maintain and balance your study habits?
I mean, whoever wants to go first, or I can go first, like, it's fine. Okay. Well, oh, okay. I need to give some context first. I relate a lot to this question, actually. Before being involved as a student body president of the College of Southern Nevada, I used to be a senator, but I used to be the president of Latinx Student Alliance as well. And we made events based on our cultures and our different cultures and backgrounds, right? And at first, of course, as every student with first events in their life, could be a little difficult at the beginning, but with enough experience of right people to talk about and right the good academic advisors, I was able to retain myself and to plan ahead and schedule my student life, my I guess advocacy life, and my work life. I need to say it's been hard, but I think I'm getting used to it now. To be part of such an incredible movement and to support different groups and demographics. I really like what I do, and I really hope that we continue with this progress and with this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Pio. Would Leslie or Charlotte like to respond?
So I am a really firm believer in the importance of boundaries, and I have found that once I started putting my efforts, my mind, and my soul into only the things that I knew represented the values that I believe in, it was a lot easier to balance everything, including schoolwork, including my own work, including my social life, because I was only doing things that made me feel good, and I wasn't wasting energy on things that made me feel bad, or the things that I felt didn't represent me in the ways that I wish that they would have. I also really rely on my mentors at Nevada State. I love how open our faculty is, how open they are to like meeting with you one-on-one and creating really close relationships with students. As a future teacher, I really believe in the importance of getting to know your students and getting to know them as people before you try to educate them. So I rely so much on my mentors and the paths that they're allowed to give me. And because they shoulder so much of the responsibility that I have sometimes, it's allowed me to focus on my schoolwork and manage so many things at so many different times because I know that I have people who are supporting me. So.
Thank you. This next question was submitted for our presidents. So here's the question. Open education is growing across the state of Nevada. Why aren't any of the colleges funding it appropriately except for Nevada State? It reads open education.
I just asked for some clarity on the question. Is it open resources that you're talking about using, yeah, OER, okay. We are looking into it. What's interesting about OER is that OER at its very, very fundamental base is actually driven by faculty. And so the faculty have to be the ones who actually elect to do that. It's not as clear an area as one might think of, like there's actually this one vein where if you use the resources, you teach the class, and then you have something that you develop, you can then submit it and then you become an author of it. And what's even more interesting is that if it ultimately then has revenue that comes from that resource, you get to share in it. And we just talked to our faculty senate about this. There's a little piece in their bylaws that says, oh, you're not supposed to just use textbooks that you make money off of. You're supposed to use them that are, for everybody and that are open and available. And so it's not as clear and easy as you might think. But I can tell you, I'm actually a proponent of them. I think it's not even for every class, but there are plenty of classes where those resources have actually been being used for a good amount of time now, and they've proven themselves to be great resources. And the price point of them is just so much more affordable. Some of them are completely open source, meaning that there is absolutely no cost. But this is something that we work and try to encourage our faculty to think about doing because it has to be done really and adopted on a larger scale. So it has to be that all of them are open to that being a piece that their colleagues could use. And I think it's coming. Your faculty are very aware of what the costs are. I mean, I can remember you used to take a textbook, you bought your textbook and you had no money. And then when you sold it, you maybe got half of it and you use that for gas money to get home. I mean, it's gotten to be that you buy the book and you don't get very much when you sell the book. And they are aware of this and they have been thinking about it. So that is something that is an important topic on our campus. We just haven't gotten there yet.
I would only want to add a couple of things to that, and that's that the OER component in community colleges means something different. It's very appropriate in certain areas, certainly in a lot of the academic transfer areas, you're seeing that, and the competitions are there. Our online efforts also includes a strong OER component. But sometimes it doesn't translate well to some of the occupational program areas, like in the welding field, where there's interactivity, and then others where you've got basically the need to do the clinical components. So again, it's part of the inventory. We're all doing it. It's going to be a continued, I think, element of where higher education moves, especially in terms of cost. But it's going to look different in community colleges, and it's going to look different in every institution, because again, this is an area that we collaborate with the faculty to make sure that we're providing kind of the right mix of services for our students, but we're very cognizant of the cost component as well.
Thank you. Our final question that was submitted is for our students. It says, what do you need most in the classroom?
Here you go, Pio.
Okay. Actually, let me think. Ooh. Well, okay. Well, I don't think this is a hot take, but I personally like my teachers to have a strong personality in classes. I enjoy that, and when they have this personality, this vibe in the classroom when they teach you and they lead you to the best opportunities and how to I guess actually work in class and work with your partners and your classmates, and these teachers that actually that inspire you to becoming someone better and to actually pay attention to the class. Because I personally have from my experience teachers that have a little space in my heart, and I always gonna remember them from the work they did with me and how I became and I'm here as student body president. I'm here as a different person from when I'm used to be in high school, and I personally think that what we need most in the classroom, what I need most in the classroom is a leader, someone who really cares, someone who's gonna be there when do you actually have questions, and when you're in trouble or moments of stress, right? Someone who teaches. Thank you.
Thank you, Pia. Leslie or Charlotte, you all have any comments? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I can comment on this. I think for me, the most important aspect is to have a connection to real life issues. Because sometimes there's classes where there's just this big disconnect where it's like, okay, I'm learning all this, but what am I going to do with it? So I think my favorite class, this professor, he brought in previous students that then started working at, let's say, Department of Environmental Protection, and they talk about how that class helped them and how they kind of share their career story, which I think is very valuable for any student that's taking your class. So yeah, having that connection really helps.
Leslie, anything?
I would say that for me, and possibly for all students everywhere, what we need in the classroom is professors, faculty, staff, and teachers who look like us and who reflect who we are. I'll give you a very specific example. I'm an education major. I decided to be a teacher in the 7th grade, and it was because I had an amazing teacher. Her name was Ms. Trujillo. I remember her to this day. She's the first teacher I had who identified as Latina. She was the first teacher I ever had who spoke Spanish, and I have this very specific memory of my parents going to see me give a talk at my 8th grade AVID graduation. And she went up to my parents after I'd given my speech, and she proceeds to tell them about like how amazing I am and how I show up in her classroom and how, you know, we've created this connection and how she thinks I'm, you know, such an amazing student. Not to pat my own back, but she said some very amazing, beautiful things. But in the moment, I couldn't really reflect on what she was saying or like take pride in it, because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, my mom and my dad are not understanding any of this because they don't speak any English. So I'm in my head thinking, okay, this is how I translate that word. This is how I translate that word. And I'm getting ready to just repeat everything that she said. And so when she finishes, I like excuse myself. I'm like, I'm sorry, but they didn't understand you at all. And so then I go to begin to, you know, tell them what she just said. And she like laughs, takes a breath, and repeats every single thing that she had just said in Spanish for my parents to understand. And I believe that was the first experience where my parents were able to like really connect with my teachers and understand what I was doing in the classroom. And that did not stop in middle school. Research shows that students need teachers who look like them. They need teachers who are culturally responsive. And that has not stopped in college either. I know that I learn more when my professors can connect to me on different levels. I know that all types of diverse students can learn more when their professors connect to them on those levels. So yeah.
OMG, Leslie, OMG. Leslie, you are enjoying every penny of your tuition. Yes, indeed. Listen, before I ask this real super dope question to the panelists, it'll be our final question of the afternoon. And we're gonna wrap this up, but you all gonna want to hear the answer to this. I want to just thank some people. First of all, let me thank all of my NC institutions for the partnership in helping to make the 2023 Diversity Summit a major success. We had a great turnout today, and everybody participated and showed up. And we just really want to thank UNLV, Nevada State University, DRI. Thank you guys so very much for showing up. We appreciate you. Of course, our corporate sponsors, our platinum sponsor, MGM Resorts. Of course, our diamond sponsor, MV Energy and Southwest Gas, as well as our silver sponsor, Cox, and Janet is still here with us. Janet, thank you so much. Thank you. And of course, our bronze sponsor, Republic Service, they came through for us. Want to thank Latin Chamber of Commerce. They were very gracious and nice to us. OTS, marketing, events, the theater and stage management, as well as who else? Purchasing, and just the entire CSN staff, man. You guys made my first diversity summit one that I'm so glad it's over. But Aisha, come take a bow, please. Y'all give this lady here, please. Aisha Kidd is a superstar. The entire Cape team, Shannon and Chuck, thank you all so very much. And of course, Raquel, thank you as well. And Jennifer, thank you very much for the support. Now, here's the question. You ready? You ready, President Whitfield? All right. He's like, sure. Here we go. So, all right, you got this song playing in your head. It says, I've had the time of my life. Don't think of Dirty Dancing. Just think of the words I'm saying, right? I've had the time of my life on your campus. What has that been for you? What has that been? We know you just collected $1 million check from my friend Mark Davis, and we know the Running Rebels football team is doing really good right now. We're so happy for you all, and you all have had some great successes. The community is recognizing and honoring each and every one of you. Every week I see something special about you. I had folks hounding me in DC. Dr. Weekly, we want to honor Dr. Saragosa. Oh, yeah. Send me the plaque. It'll go with the other 1,000 plaques he has already. But okay, we'll take it. But we're very happy. And we're so blessed here in Nevada to have all four of you. I'm just going to put it out there. We're so blessed to have all four of you. But if you had to think, I've had the time of my life. What on your campus? That boring, huh?
Well, there's not one. For me, it's seeing students on our campus. Like I said, during our Rebel Week, you could see this flood of people. And there's something about the idea, the promise, and the excitement that also is there. But I will tell you, The best day in the year of our university, it happens roughly essentially twice a year, and that's graduation. And I love graduation because you see, clap for yourselves, especially for those of you who are going to be walking across that stage. I love it because you see pure joy. And I actually feel like when I'm going through a semester, I'm working real hard, I'm trying to figure out things to do, trying to make the right decisions, and investing my heart and soul into it. What you see is the product of that. And it is so clear and so evident that you can make a difference.
Yes.
I think that's one of the reasons why I tell people, you know, they're like, oh, you're a president, it's such a hard job. These guys know it's a hard job. But to me, it's not that hard because I love my job because of the main output is being able to set up the possibility, the potential for people to be able to change their lives, and not only change their lives, change the lives of their family, change the life of their community. To me, that's why I love graduation. We graduate a lot of people, sometimes over 4,000 students. And I always think about all the hands I got to shake. And, you know, people are like, aren't you tired? And I go, no, I'm not tired. I'm excited because you see that as they walk across that stage and leave that stage, they're going to go out and do great things.
There you go.
And so that is the time of my life, is graduation day.
There you go. All right. Dr. Pollard. Dr. Pollard, I've had the time of my life doing what? Because next year, the Diversity Summit is on your campus.
I think I have the time of my life when I get to have the quiet and intentional moments of either talking to students or listening to them. So I love the big moments of higher education. That's obviously the pomp and circumstance and that manifestation that commencement is about, is my brother Keith has so thoughtfully articulated. But I will tell you, the thing that I like to do most and what I think I'm best at is listening. And when I do that, honest to God, the highlight of my moment here today, we're all great and wonderful and all the panel, is that I got to listen to Leslie. That, and if I am intentional in those quiet moments of not making sure that my story and my voice and my lived experience is dominant, but I listen acutely to what is being said by the student about their lived experience, about their joy, their pain, about the ways in which the organization has or needs to show up for them, it makes me better every time. So when I get to do this right here, or I see a student in the parking lot or at the Smiths or at the wherever I'm at, and I get to hear about their truth, that to me, inevitably, and I think about every high moment in my career, it is inevitably that singular opportunity to learn from students. That's it.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you've become like a rock star in the neighborhood. I just got to tell you, you've been a breath of fresh air. We just thought we got it all with Sandra Douglas Morgan. And, you know, you come along and you have given a lot of young women in the community a reason to believe in education and to believe in themselves. And we just thank you because you've just really come and have just really changed the trajectory for a lot of women of color in the community. And we thank you. Thank you so very much. Dr. A, I've had the time of my life.
Thank you. You know, I was reflecting on this, and I have to agree with President Whitfield that, to me, making an impact one life at a time is what touches me every day. I've been in this business for a long time. I was a faculty at DRI for a long time. I used to travel around the world during my off. I used to take annual leaves and go live in a village in Indonesia and build some drinking water system for villages where they have to sell cattle to buy drinking water. I thought that was the moment of my life, you know. I have done a lot of those kind of things in my personal time. It's about giving back to people, you know. But at this time, in my position right now, I think the thing that touches me every day coming to work is when somebody tells me, you know, I really like what you're doing and I love coming to work. It's a great place to work, DRI. The science is great. People around me are incredible. They're all very supportive. That's what touches me every day. That's what I think is making a difference.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Saragosa, I've had the time of my life as you
You're not gonna
prepare to
sing,
take as you prepare.
You're not gonna sing, right?
I'm not going to sing anymore. I'm not.
That's
No.
an easy one for me.
Okay, let's hear it.
Dr. Weekly, graduations by far are kind of the times of my life. And a close second to that is when Mariachi Plata won the national championship, and I called my friends in San Antonio, and I told them we did it.
Okay. Well, listen, everybody, we want to thank you all so very much for once again helping us to make this Diversity Summit a huge success. We appreciate everyone who showed up and just really showed your love and support to us. On behalf of the College of Southern Nevada, the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, as well as our CAPE office through our Human Resources Department, thank you so very much. You all have a nice, a safe, a blessed weekend and an amazing rest of the school year. Thank you all so very much. Good night, everybody.